What's up, guys? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 21st of April, 2020. And you probably already know that I jacked up my back a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't let it stop me. I kept working on the truck and working on the truck like a Terminator that was missing an arm and a leg. I still stayed on it. Well, when doing one of the final things, the biggest thing on this truck, installing the supercharger is a big engine-sized piece that weighs about 60 pounds or 40 pounds or whatever. But in order to install it alone, like an idiot, you have to reach over the hood of the truck, which is already higher than I can reach over, off of a ladder, and carefully put it in place. Now, when going through the steps of installing this, before I did it, I kept thinking, have your buddy Matt give you a hand putting this thing in, or you're going to hurt yourself. Well, when the time came, I couldn't be bothered, and I did it myself, and I pinched a nerve. And I have never been introduced to the world of a pinched nerve in your spine ever, and it took my legs away. And today is exactly 1 week since this occurred, and I've been sitting in a chair for a week because the pain was so unbelievably bad. But fortunately, my subscribers are badass. Doctors, lawyers, soldiers, cops, feds, etc., etc. But a couple of my subscribers got a hold of me and told me how to ameliorate this situation. You like that word? Ameliorate. I heard 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗶 say that in Breaking Bad, talking about killing somebody. So, I've been doing these stretches and all these other things, but the worst part is my truck is this close to being done. I'm this close to being out of here because I've been home way too long. And I haven't been able to do anything because it's that bad. I could maybe walk for 2 minutes and then my leg goes pins and needles, my foot goes numb, etc. Well, it's finally to the point where, as you can see, I'm driving. So it really hasn't given me the desire to make videos. I've been sapped. But what I have been doing is reading the Bible. And I'll tell you what, in Exodus, I believe it's Exodus 13:4, when God finally removes the Israelites from Egypt, he tells them, this is the first day of the year. And he calls it Abib, A-B-I-B. I don't know what that means, but I got a good idea. So I look it up, and it's April. April is the first day of the year. And I'll tell you what, I've been quacking about April Fool's Day for like 7 or 8 years, telling everybody it's the first day of the year. Everything starts new on Earth at a particular time. And they tell us the first day of the year is January 1st, where it's terrible weather, everything's dead, there's no animals, or you know what I mean? It's just not life-giving. It's right there in the Bible, and I found it. And I found myself looking up words because I didn't know what they meant. And every time I pick up the Bible, I ask God to allow me to read the words as he would want us to. Read them and understand them. Don't just read them for the sake of reading, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I've been doing. And I pray, and I pray, and I pray. And I've got a, no pun intended, flood of emails about, watch the water, watch the water. Listen, I just put up a video yesterday by a guy named 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗹, who, I don't know who that is, but somebody sent it to me, I listened to it, and he's basically saying everything that I said a year ago, but I wanted you guys to hear it from somebody else. All these doctors, even the ones that we brought on, how come they're still out there making video after video after video during the biggest medical hoax that's ever been perpetrated on humanity as far as we know? Do you know what I'm saying? How come they didn't get taken down? I got taken down. Plenty of YouTubers got taken down for doing the exact same thing. But these guys are all out on the circuit. They're all on Stu Peters and InfoWars. Dude, they're all bringing you to the wrong place. All of them. All of them. It's either they're completely 100% do not take ever at all for any reason. Take that's going to put a Bluetooth responder in you, Yeah, what could go wrong with that? That's cool. I'm not doing that ever. And then you got people telling you, oh, take these. They're banning these simple remedies. They're not banning anything. They're not banning anything. You don't need a remedy for something that doesn't exist. Anybody that got sick and died under the label fell victim to a doctor who was pressured by government, pharma, and the hospitals to list anybody that died as. And that's exactly what happened. They passed the CARE Act where they're literally paying doctors to diagnose people with even though they don't have it. They told us that the flu disappeared because COVID's here. Are you shitting me? I mean, that is something you tell a child. And they told all of humanity that, and most people believed it. It's unbelievable to me. But back to me sitting on my ever-fattening ass for a week because of my leg. Do you know what I did do? I watched a lot of UFC stuff from a couple years ago. I don't know why. I watched a story about heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. The guy literally grew up at 10 years old. He was working in a sand mine where he was digging sand out of a river at 10 to feed his family. He's 10 years old, working at a sand mine. He finally decides, I want to be heavyweight champion of the world, and he decides to escape from Africa, which involves crossing the desert, paying strangers to drive you in the back of a pickup truck, people falling out of the trucks because they cramped up so bad they couldn't hold on anymore and just left for dead in the middle of the desert.
One of the things that I read about you was that you worked in a sand mine when you were young.
I was about 10 years old when I started that because
quand Francis était à la carrière, c'est quand il revenait qu'on pouvait même payer quelque chose ici à la maison.
In this open-cast mine, hundreds of artisanal miners are working in waters soiled by mercury without any protection. Among them, dozens of children, including girls, sometimes younger than 5.
even though that work was meant for adults, but we didn't have any option, so we take what we had.
To Francis, the first step is nothing less than crossing the biggest and most treacherous desert on Earth.
Sahara is one of
Sahara Desert, yeah.
the Sahara Desert, and it's like one of the biggest over there. They just bring a small truck and put your baggage in it. You know, like Toyota Tacoma?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's gonna be like 25 of you guys in the back.
25 people in a Toyota Tacoma.
Yeah, plus your luggage. So
Wow.
you are not allowed for a lot of luggage. Even water, you don't allowed for a certain quantity of water because it takes space.
Oof.
And you are going to the desert and you have to grab the truck so hard so you get cramped. And then, but when you get cramped, you can't let him go because if you let him go, you fall and that's it. They want go back in the forest, figure out how to cook that in the aluminum bucket or something.
The first way to get to the city is by climbing over the 11 miles fence that surrounds it. But calling it a fence is an oversimplification. It's a series of fences. The first one is 20 foot high. The second one has a flexible top, leading you straight into the barbed wire netting sitting at the bottom of it. The third fence is the highest yet, with more barbed wire waiting for you along with the civil guard, standing before a 2x4 meters ditch leading to a double fence topped with more barbed wires. So let me ask you, what would you go for? Fence or water? Francis chose the fence.
And then climbing over barriers to get into other countries, over fences and fences and fences, numerous fences with concertina wire, and it's insane. But watching this guy's story, I'm thinking, we got it so easy in the United States that people would rather just trust their government. No other country trusts their government, just us. And we have the most corrupt government in the world, even though our government and all other governments are now one government. And that's no longer a theory. It's now something they're proclaiming. Do you see what I'm saying? At any rate, I watch these things because, first of all, I'm really bored. Second of all, I would check my Odyssey, my YouTube, my BitChute feeds every day. But unless there was something there that really, oh my, it was all just fear porn. You know what I'm saying? I call it fear porn because I've been accused of fear porn, yet everything I ever told you is happening. The dark winter, Didn't really notice it. Didn't really notice it. We brought it up. They brought it up. It never came to fruition. And you know why? Because so many of us were talking about it, they had to change their plan. Or they just decided to change their plan. Whatever. But their plan is to take away the money, to completely destroy the supply chains. They don't want to accidentally shake anything and wake people up. But they're doing it. They're doing it. This is a war of attrition. They've got all the time in the world on their side. You see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what they're doing. I was watching the fighting because I was a fighter. I didn't fight in the UFC or anything, but I was a fighter. I fought a lot. And to me, watching these dudes that came from absolutely nothing to make it to championship and then do something solid, something good with it, was inspiring, and that's what I needed. I didn't need fear porn. I already know what direction they're going in. I already know what's happening. There's no one ringing the bell. The New World Order is here. It just isn't done. The moment we don't have paper money anymore, the capstone on the back of the dollar bill can be placed on top of the pyramid, and their 1,000-year reign begins, or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? I look to the Bible and I look to inspiration as opposed to sitting there and getting depressed, because I could easily get depressed. Every day I would wake up, I'd walk out to my coffee maker, and by the time I turned it on, my leg would go numb again, and I would have to sit down because not only was it numb, it was the most excruciating pain. I've never had my legs taken away like this. Never. I get hurt, I'm bleeding, this, that, and the other thing. It's all good. This, oh my. I took this, and I'm taking this seriously. I was on an inversion table last night in my house. And of course, the first thing and the biggest thing I was afraid of is, so if I get on this thing and go upside down, what if I get stuck? So what I do is I get on this thing, I go upside down, and I get stuck. So I got a bad back that I'm trying to nurse back to health, and I'm hanging upside down like an ass clown in my house, and the only way I can think of getting out of this stupid thing is to wriggle my legs out so I literally fall on my head upside down. Fortunately, I relaxed and I figured out how to pull myself back upright again. I had the machine set by an inch off. I never used one before, but it takes all the pressure off your spine, and it gave me a great deal of relief. So, at any rate, that's where I've been at. And I'll tell you what, I'm working on a video right now to show you that the Bible was true. Parting the Red Sea, Moses summoning water out of a stone, Sodom and Gomorrah. There's proof. There's evidence of all of these things. You need to understand, this world that we live in is not real. This isn't real. None of this is real. Material. Yeah. People back in the day, they had a couple of animals, they had their family, and they had the clothes on their back. Look at how we live now. You know what I'm saying? And we were born into this. We were born into this system that was already up and running. I myself, I was born where it wasn't like this, but it was coming. It was coming, man. Television. If they never invented television, we wouldn't be in the point we're at right now, which is why I made numerous videos, and a couple of them got to over a couple of million views and then got taken down. That showed you all the patents that television is and always has been and was developed to be a weapon.
You know, a lot of people have speculated that these cell phone towers, these Gwen towers, these ELF towers, these towers that are absolutely everywhere. And I mean everywhere. They're disguised as trees. They're strapped onto smokestacks. They're all over every single solitary church. And again, they are everywhere. It's pretty straightforward. This is a patent right here for nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. Now, what does that mean? It means just what it sounds like. Here's a few diagrams from the patent. Do you see this? Does it make any sense now why they need everyone to have the highest resolution possible flat screen in their home? Why is it that that's all a rage? Why is it that they have gone through great pains in keeping people sitting in front of their televisions, laptops, computers, and cell phones? Because every single solitary one of those devices, first of all, is a scrying mirror. Now, what is a scrying mirror? If you follow my channel, you probably have a really good idea. It's quite similar and along the lines of a crystal ball, except it's a black mirror that's used to conjure otherworldly entities. 6506148B2. Actually, it's J2. 6506148B2. The abstract of this is, psychological effects have been observed in a human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near 0.5 hertz or 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displayed pulse images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation.
And it is. Because without television, you couldn't have farm boys out in Illinois sagging their pants, claiming they were Crips or Bloods, when these are just blonde-haired, buck-toothed farm boys from Illinois or wherever. Television spread all that. And television spread... Here's another thing I almost forgot. While watching some of the greatest champions in the UFC, because that's a hard job, man. When you're fighting someone that's his entire job is to train, to beat you, to take your consciousness away from you for the win, I noticed one thing. COVID showed up constantly. Some of the greatest champions in the world almost didn't win the fight because they lost their father because he died of COVID. I couldn't believe how intertwined COVID, I was going to fight and then I had COVID for 2 months. Nope, no you didn't. You were sick and then they treated you. And chances are the treatments, like we saw in New York at the beginning, ventilators, etc., killed people. What did he die of? Well, instead of saying, well, we stuck a tube down his throat and literally drowned him, they said, and everybody ran with that. It's amazing to me how many people in the mixed martial arts community helped propagate or push forward the lie, but they did. And to them, you're never going to tell them their father didn't die of COVID. They're going to defend that forever. You know what I'm saying? So this whole thing was they started it with movie stars, they started it with sports figures, and it continues. And it ain't over. Do not be fooled for an instant. They are not done. We told you they needed to get as many people as they possibly could because that gave them a highway of information. It gave them something for their new system of biometric surveillance that they didn't have prior. People were willingly taking whether it made them Bluetooth compatible, whether it made them sick or whatever. I just talked to a family member and it was Easter. It's Easter. Oh, we got Easter. And half the people that were supposed to show up didn't show up because of COVID. And this person's telling me, my biggest concern is my mother, who's almost 100. And I said, you guys are worried about, you all have your vaccines, so why are you worried about COVID? And there was no answer. Oh, I'm just worried about you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Defending your oppressors. Stockholm Syndrome on a massive level. Never before seen. At any rate, Richie from Boston. I'm out.